It was 12:47 p.m. on a Tuesday afternoon in Chicago, when ICE agents made what would become the worst mistake of their careers. They thought they were just doing a routine check on a suspicious person reported near Lincoln Elementary School. What they didn't know was that the black woman they were about to handcuff in the parking lot wasn't just any teacher. She was someone with the connections, credentials, and determination to make them pay for every second of humiliation they were about to inflict. This is the story of how racial profiling cost two federal agents their careers, their pensions, and ultimately led to a $12.5 million settlement that would change how ICE operates in school zones forever. But first, if you believe in karma and want to see justice served, hit that subscribe button and drop your city in the comments below. Where are you watching from? Let me know in the comments. I read every single one. Now, let me tell you exactly who Dr. Amelia Richardson was, because understanding her background makes what happens next even more satisfying. Dr. Richardson wasn't just any teacher at Lincoln Elementary. She held 3 advanced degrees, a PhD in education from Northwestern University, where she graduated summa cum laude and wrote her dissertation on equity-based learning outcomes in urban elementary schools. Her law degree from the University of Chicago came with law review honors, and she'd passed the Illinois bar exam on her first attempt, scoring in the 94th percentile. Her master's in child psychology from DePaul University included a specialization in trauma-informed teaching methods. Over her 23-year career, she'd become nationally recognized. She authored 4 books on educational equity, including Every Child's Champion, which became required reading in over 200 education programs across the country. She'd been invited to speak at Harvard's Graduate School of Education 3 times. She testified before Congress about improving educational outcomes for marginalized communities. The Obama administration had offered her a position in the Department of Education, which she'd politely declined because, as she said, "My place is in the classroom." She served on the Mayor's Education Advisory Board since 2016, the Illinois State Board of Education's Equity Task Force, and the National Association of Elementary School Principals Diversity Committee. She'd been named Illinois Teacher of the Year in 2018 and was a finalist for National Teacher of the Year. But here's what really matters. She was also the daughter of retired federal judge Theodore Richardson and civil rights attorney Patricia Richardson. Her father had served 28 years on the federal bench, presiding over landmark civil rights cases. Her mother had argued 14 cases before the Supreme Court and won 11 of them, including a crucial case on racial profiling by federal agents. Lincoln Elementary wasn't just where Dr. Richardson worked, it was her mission. Located on Chicago's west side, the school served a diverse population, 42% Hispanic, 31% Black, 19% white, 8% Asian. Many students came from low-income families. Dr. Richardson had personally raised over $500,000 for school supplies, technology, and after-school programs. She arrived every morning at 6:30 a.m. to tutor struggling students for free. She spent her own money, about $3,000 annually, on classroom supplies. On this particular Tuesday, the 15th of October 2024, she was doing what she'd done every lunch period for the past 5 years, sitting in her assigned parking spot, eating her homemade kale salad, and grading her third graders' multiplication tests with her signature red pen that had smiley faces on it. Her 2019 Honda Accord, she drove a modest car despite her family's wealth because she never wanted her students to feel inferior, bore the school's faculty parking sticker, number 2019-2024114. Her ID badge hung visibly from her rearview mirror, and she was parked in spot #4, the same spot she'd occupied since joining Lincoln Elementary in 2018. At 12:47 p.m., agents Derek Morrison and Kyle Brennan of Immigration and Customs Enforcement pulled into the school parking lot. They'd received what they later claimed was an anonymous tip about suspicious activity near the school. The call, they would later testify, came from a blocked number at 12:31 p.m. The caller, whose voice was never recorded because Morrison forgot to follow protocol, allegedly said they saw someone who doesn't belong sitting in a car near the school. No specific description of criminal activity, no mention of weapons or threats, no description of the vehicle or person, just suspicious activity from someone who doesn't belong. Morrison, A 6-year ICE veteran with a checkered history, was the senior agent. At 38 years old, standing 6'2", with a military-style crew cut, he had a reputation among his colleagues for being proactive, a euphemism for aggressive. His partner Brennan, 29, had been with ICE for only 4 years, but had already developed a similar reputation. Both men were based out of the Chicago field office and were technically assigned to investigating employment violations at industrial sites. Schools were not part of their jurisdiction unless pursuing a specific, warranted target. They spotted Dr. Richardson immediately, the only black person visible in the parking lot at that moment. She was seated in her silver Honda, windows partially down for the crisp October air, NPR playing softly on her radio, completely absorbed in grading papers. "Target acquired," Morrison radioed to dispatch, already approaching her vehicle with his hand hovering over his holstered weapon. The body camera footage, which would later become crucial evidence, showed him approaching from the driver's side while Brennan circled to the passenger side. Dr. Richardson noticed them in her rearview mirror. 2 men in black tactical vests marked ICE in bright yellow letters, walking purposefully toward her car. Her heart rate quickened, a natural response she'd later describe as inherited trauma from growing up black in America, but she remained calm. She carefully set down her red grading pen on the paper she was reviewing. Jamal, Washington's test. He'd finally mastered his 7 times tables, and placed both hands visibly on her steering wheel. Morrison tapped on her window with his knuckles. Not a polite tap, 3 hard raps that made her jump slightly. "Roll down the window, ma'am." Dr. Richardson complied immediately, keeping her movements slow and deliberate. Her father had taught her since childhood. Move slowly. Speak clearly. Survive the encounter. "Good afternoon, officers. How can I help you?" Morrison leaned down, his face close enough that she could smell coffee on his breath. "License and registration." "Of course. My driver's license is in my purse on the passenger seat. May I reach for it?" "We need you to step out of the vehicle first." "May I ask why?" Morrison's jaw tightened. "We're conducting an investigation. Step out of the vehicle." Dr. Richardson's mind raced through her legal training. No reasonable suspicion articulated, no probable cause stated. But she also knew the statistics, arguing with law enforcement, while black rarely ended well. "Of course. I want to be helpful. I'm Dr. Amelia Richardson. I teach 3rd grade here at Lincoln Elementary. That's my classroom right there, room 114. She pointed to the building where colorful student artwork decorated the windows. "I'm on my lunch break, which runs from 12:30 to 1:15. Brennan stepped into view on the passenger side, his hand also resting on his weapon. "Ma'am, we'll determine who you are. Out of the car. Now." The tone had shifted. This wasn't a request anymore. Dr. Richardson opened her door slowly, narrating her movements as her father had taught her. "I'm opening my door now. I'm stepping out with my hands visible." She emerged from the vehicle with the dignity she displayed in her classroom every day. She was dressed professionally, a navy blue blazer over a white blouse, gray slacks, and sensible flats. Her school ID badge on its Lincoln Elementary lanyard bounced against her chest as she stood. "Thank you for your cooperation," Morrison said, though his tone suggested no gratitude. "Turn around, hands on the vehicle." Dr. Richardson's voice remained steady, though inside she felt a familiar rage building. "Officer Morrison, I can see your name badge. Is this really necessary? I work here. My identification is hanging from my rearview mirror. My faculty parking permit is clearly displayed. I've been teaching here for—" "I said turn around." Morrison's voice escalated dramatically, echoing across the parking lot. Several heads turned in nearby vehicles. Sarah Chen, a 5th grade teacher eating lunch in her car 3 spaces away, immediately grabbed her phone. She'd been Dr. Richardson's mentee when she started at Lincoln 5 years ago. Her hands shook as she began recording. Marcus Thompson, the music teacher, was walking to his car when he heard the shouting. He stopped in his tracks, pulled out his phone, and started live streaming on Instagram. "Y'all need to see this," he whispered to his followers. "They're harassing Dr. Richardson. The Dr. Richardson. The woman who literally saved this school." Dr. Richardson turned around slowly, placing her hands on the warm metal of her car. The October sun beat down on the parking lot, but she felt cold. Officer, my school ID is hanging from my mirror. My driver's license is in my purse on the passenger seat. I've been teaching here for 6 years. I was born at Northwestern Memorial Hospital on the 14th of August, 1977. I've never been arrested. I've never even had a speeding ticket. Stop talking. Morrison began patting her down while Brennan ran her plates. His hands were rough, invasive. He checked her pockets, ran his hands along her arms, her sides, her legs. It was humiliating, dehumanizing, and completely unnecessary. Through the windows of the school, faces began appearing. Students in the cafeteria pressed against the glass. Teachers on their prep periods gathered at windows. The school security guard, James Williams, a 6-7-year-old retired Chicago PD officer who'd known Dr. Richardson since her first day, stepped outside and began walking toward the scene. "This is humiliating," Dr. Richardson said, her voice cracking slightly for the first time. "I have students who might see this. These children look up to me. What are they supposed to think when they see their teacher being treated like a criminal?" Morrison paused in his search. "Maybe you should have thought about that before engaging in suspicious activity." That lit a fire in Dr. Richardson. Her voice strengthened, her legal training kicking in. "I need you to articulate, for the record and for the witnesses now recording, what specific suspicious activity you observed. Because from where I stand, I was grading papers while black. Is that the crime?" Morrison's face reddened. "Are you accusing me of racial profiling?" "I'm asking you to explain what suspicious activity I was engaged in. I'm sitting in my assigned parking spot at the school where I'm employed during my documented lunch break. My name is on the faculty list posted at the main entrance. My photo is on the school website. My classroom is decorated with my doctoral diploma. So please, Agent Morrison, explain to me and to the growing crowd of witnesses what exactly was suspicious about a teacher grading papers during lunch. If this is making your blood boil, you're not alone. Share this video because what happens next proves why we need to keep recording these encounters." By now, the scene had attracted significant attention. 8 teachers were recording from various angles. Michael Torres, the PE teacher, had not only stepped out of the building, but was live streaming on Facebook to his 3,000 followers. "This is Lincoln Elementary in Chicago," he narrated. "That's Dr. Amelia Richardson, our Teacher of the Year. She's being detained by ICE agents for sitting in her car. She's grading papers, y'all, 3rd grade multiplication tests, and they got her up against her car like she's some kind of criminal." From the cafeteria windows, one-year-old Maria Gonzalez watched in horror as her favorite teacher from 2 years ago was being searched. She started crying. "Why are they doing that to Dr. Richardson?" she asked the lunch monitor. "She's the nicest teacher in the whole school." "She's literally our best teacher," Sarah Chen called out from her car, still recording. "She's been here longer than the principal. She taught my daughter." Morrison's hand moved to his handcuffs. "Ma'am, I'm going to need you to place your hands behind your back." "Are you arresting me?" Dr. Richardson asked clearly, making sure it was audible for the recordings. "If so, on what charge?" "You're being detained pending our investigation." "Investigation of what crime?" Morrison didn't answer. He pulled her left wrist behind her back. The metal was cold against her skin. As he reached for her right wrist, she spoke again. "Agent Morrison, badge number 4782, and Agent Brennan, I want to be very clear. I am not resisting. I am complying under protest. You have not articulated any reasonable suspicion of any crime. You have not stated probable cause for this detention. Multiple witnesses are recording this interaction. I am invoking my right to remain silent from this point forward, and I am requesting my attorney." Morrison clicked the second cuff shut. The sound seemed to echo across the now silent parking lot. "You're making a mistake," Dr. Richardson said as the metal clicked around her wrists. "I was born in Chicago. My birth certificate is in my filing cabinet in room 114. My father is Judge Theodore Richardson of the Northern District of Illinois." Brennan laughed. "Sure he is. And my dad's the Pope." Morrison called it in. "We have one in custody. Hispanic female, approximately 40 years old." "I'm black," Dr. Richardson interrupted, "and I'm 47. Refusing to provide identification, Morrison continued. "That's a lie. I told you exactly where my identification is. This interaction is being recorded by multiple witnesses. Principal Janet Murphy emerged from the building, practically running. "What is going on? That's Dr. Richardson." "Ma'am, please step back. This is a federal investigation." "Federal investigation of what?" "She's grading papers. I saw her myself 20 minutes ago. We have reports of suspicious activity. The only suspicious activity here is 2 ICE agents harassing my best teacher. This is why every school needs cameras and why every person needs to know their rights. Keep watching because karma is about to arrive in full force." More staff members gathered. Parents picking up sick children stopped to stare. Several were now recording. "Officers," Dr. Richardson said calmly, "there are now 17 witnesses to this interaction. I've given you my name, told you where I work, and offered to show you identification. You've chosen to escalate this situation based on no evidence of any crime. Every second you continue this charade adds another 0 to the lawsuit my mother will be filing." Brennan finally returned from running her plates. His face had gone pale. He showed his phone to Morrison, whose expression immediately changed. "Uncuff her," Brennan whispered. "What?" "Uncuff her. Now." Morrison fumbled with the keys. "This appears to be a misunderstanding." "No," Dr. Richardson interrupted. "We're past misunderstanding. What's your badge number?" "Ma'am, we were just—" "Badge. Number." Morrison's hands shook as he removed the handcuffs. 4,782. "And you?" She looked at Brennan. "Wu Tenzhou Bai Ishilo." Dr. Richardson rubbed her wrists, where red marks were already forming. "Principal Murphy, please document these marks. Everyone recording, please save your videos." Morrison tried one last time. "Dr. Richardson, we apologize for the confusion." "Confusion? You profiled me based on my race, ignored my repeated attempts to identify myself, lied to dispatch about my cooperation, and handcuffed me in front of my workplace. There was no confusion. There was bias, incompetence, and a violation of my civil rights." She pulled out her phone. "Mom, it's Amelia. Yes, it happened again. 2 ICE agents this time. Yes, I have witnesses. 17 at current count. Yes, they put me in handcuffs." Both agents stood frozen as they heard her mother's response loud and clear through the phone. "I'll have the lawsuit filed within the hour. Tell them to expect service by end of day." Within 45 minutes, the videos were viral. Number Justice for Dr. Richardson began trending nationally on Twitter, reaching number 2 worldwide by 8 p.m. The first video, posted by PE teacher Michael Torres, gained 100,000 views in 2 hours and 3.5 million by midnight. Sarah Chen's video, shot from a closer angle, clearly captured the agents' faces and badge numbers. It showed Morrison's aggressive demeanor and Dr. Richardson's calm compliance. The comments section exploded. "This is why we say Black Lives Matter. A teacher, at her own school. I'm a white teacher and this makes me sick. She's done more for education than those agents will ever do for security. My daughter had Dr. Richardson. She changed our lives. This is disgusting." $77. By 5 p.m., major news outlets had picked up the story. The Chicago Tribune ran the headline, "Federal Judge's Daughter, Handcuffed by ICE at Elementary School Where She Teaches." CNN's breaking news banner read, "Award-winning teacher detained by ICE while grading papers in school parking lot." But it was Principal Janet Murphy's Facebook post that really captured the injustice. She wrote, "Today I watched in horror as 2 federal agents handcuffed one of the finest educators I've ever known. Dr. Amelia Richardson has transformed hundreds of young lives. She arrives before dawn to tutor struggling students for free. She spends thousands of her own dollars on supplies. She has 3 advanced degrees and could work anywhere. But she chooses to serve our community. She was eating lunch in her assigned parking spot, grading papers, when ICE agents decided she looked suspicious. They handcuffed her like a criminal, while children watched from windows. This is the face of racism in America. This is why we must speak up." The post was shared 47,000 times in 24 hours. The next morning, Dr. Richardson gave an exclusive interview to CNN's Don Lemon. Sitting in her classroom at 6 a.m., surrounded by her students' artwork and photos from class field trips, she spoke with devastating clarity. "I've been an educator for 23 years. I've dedicated my life to children, all children. regardless of their background or immigration status. Yet I was treated like a criminal in the very place where I nurture young minds. The physical handcuffs came off after 23 minutes, but the psychological impact remains. She held up her wrists, showing the bruises that had formed. These marks will fade. But what about the trauma to my students who saw their teacher in handcuffs? What about the message sent to every black and brown educator that we're not safe even in our own workplaces? Don Lemon asked the question everyone wanted answered. What were you thinking when they handcuffed you? Dr. Richardson's eyes filled with tears for the first time. I thought about Philando Castile. He worked in a school too. I thought about my students, especially my black and Latino students who already face so many challenges. I thought about my father, who spent his career fighting for justice, having to see his daughter humiliated for simply existing while black. And I thought, not again. Not in 2024. This has to stop. The interview revealed something that made the story even worse. This wasn't the first time Dr. Richardson had been racially profiled. She pulled out a leather journal and showed Lemon her documentation. The 3rd of March 2019. Stopped while jogging in Lincoln Park. Officer demanded ID. No crime reported. The 18th of July 2019. Questioned while reading in Millennium Park. Security said she didn't look like she belonged. The 22nd of November 2020. Pulled over driving home from school. Officer claimed she fit a description, but couldn't specify what description. The 14th of February 2021. Detained entering her own gated community. Security didn't believe she lived there despite her resident sticker. The 30th of August 2022. Stopped while shopping at Whole Foods. Store security followed her for 20 minutes. The 2nd of December 2023. Questioned while attending her nephew's soccer game. Parents complained about an unfamiliar person. I document everything, she explained. My mother taught me that. She said the law requires evidence, so I keep evidence. 14 incidents in 5 years. Each time, I was just living my life. Each time, someone decided I didn't belong. If you've ever experienced something similar, share your story in the comments. Your voice matters, and together we can demand change. Within a week, investigative reporters had uncovered a pattern. 3 more people came forward with similar experiences involving Agents Morrison and Brennan. Maria Santos, a 4-year-old trauma nurse at Northwestern Memorial Hospital, had been detained for 45 minutes outside her own home in August. Morrison had demanded proof of citizenship, despite her hospital ID and Illinois driver's license. James Williams, a 1-year-old investment banker with Chase, had been handcuffed in front of his 2 young children at Maggie Daly Park in June. Brennan had received a tip about suspicious behavior. Williams was pushing his kids on the swings. Dr. Rashid Patel, a 8-year-old cardiac surgeon at Rush University Medical Center, had been pulled over and questioned about his citizenship status 4 times by the same agents. He was born in Detroit, served in the Air Force, and had security clearance from his time as a flight surgeon. Channel 7's investigative team dug deeper. Through FOIA requests, they discovered Agent Morrison had 47 formal complaints over 6 years. 41 of those complaints involved people of color. 0 had resulted in disciplinary action. 23 complaints specifically mentioned racial profiling. His personnel file included 3 warnings from supervisors about overzealous enforcement. Agent Brennan's record was similarly troubling. 31 complaints in 4 years. 28 involving people of color. Multiple complaints about excessive force. 2 lawsuits settled out of court. A failed psychological evaluation in 2021 that somehow didn't prevent his continued employment. The Chicago office of ICE had received 312 complaints about racial profiling in the past 3 years. Only 7 had resulted in any disciplinary action, and none had led to termination. Patricia Richardson didn't just file 1 lawsuit, she filed 4. Federal civil rights violations, false imprisonment, defamation, and a groundbreaking case challenging ICE's presence near schools without specific, credible threats. The trial began 8 months later in the same courthouse where Dr. Richardson's father had served for 22 years. The evidence was overwhelming. 7 different video angles of the incident. Dr. Richardson's spotless record. The agent's history of complaints. No evidence of any suspicious activity report. phone records showing the agents never attempted to verify her identity. On day 3 of the trial, the government offered to settle. Dr. Richardson refused. She wanted a verdict. The jury deliberated for just 2 hours. Guilty on all counts. The judgment, $12.5 million in compensatory and punitive damages. But that was just the beginning. Justice isn't just about money, it's about accountability. If you agree, hit that like button and share this video with someone who needs to see it. Agent Morrison was terminated immediately following the verdict. He lost his pension, his benefits, and any chance of working in law enforcement again. At 43 years old, with 2 kids in college, he had to start over. Agent Brennan resigned before he could be fired. His law enforcement certification was revoked in Illinois and 6 surrounding states. His wife, embarrassed by the viral videos, filed for divorce. The Department of Homeland Security launched a comprehensive review of ICE operations near schools. New policies were implemented. ICE agents cannot approach anyone on school property without a specific warrant. All stops must be recorded on body cameras. Agents must verify identity before making any arrests. Racial profiling training became mandatory quarterly instead of annually. Chicago Public Schools added new protocols. Any federal agent entering school property must check in with administration first. No exceptions. Dr. Richardson donated $2 million of her settlement to create the Educational Equity Legal Fund, providing free legal representation to teachers and students facing discrimination. 2 years later, Dr. Richardson still teaches 3rd grade in room 114. Her parking spot number 14 now bears a small plaque. Reserved for Dr. Amelia Richardson, 2018 National Teacher of the Year. In her final interview about the incident, she said something that resonated with millions. They saw my skin color and made assumptions. They had power and chose to abuse it. But what they didn't understand is that justice doesn't care about your badge. It cares about truth. And the truth is, when you violate someone's rights based on hatred or bias, karma doesn't just come knocking, it kicks down the door. Morrison now works at a car dealership in Indiana. Brennan moved to Florida and works in private security. Both are still paying off legal fees from the criminal and civil trials. The last image from this story that America won't forget. Dr. Richardson's students surprising her with a handmade banner reading, "Our teacher is a hero." The day she returned to class after the verdict, 23 third graders, of every race and background, standing together in room 114, showing more wisdom and compassion than 2 federal agents ever could. Thank you for watching this story of justice served. If you believe accountability matters, subscribe and hit the notification bell. And I'll leave you with this. If Dr. Richardson could face that humiliation with grace and turn it into systemic change, what injustice in your community are you ready to stand up against?